I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV episode number 147. We are back with our recommendations for the best comics this week. You're looking at me funny. Did I say the wrong number? 147.
No, you said it right.
Okay.
I just love the question. Best comics this week?
Well, he started looking at me funny, didn't he, folks? He did. Yeah, thought so. So 147, we're back. Another week, a really great week for comics. Lots of new number ones to choose from a variety of publishers. And one of those is my pick of the week. That is Deadly Class number 1 by Rick Remender and Wes Craig, published by Image Comics. And we actually got an advance copy of this about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I loved it then, and I wasn't sure what else was coming out the week that it came out, whether it would be my pick or not, and I loved it still. I loved it a long time. Read the preview initially and reread it again last night, and it's just hands down the best thing that I read this week. It takes place in 1987 in San Francisco, I think, out in California. 14-year-old homeless kid. Life on the streets is tough. Crazy old guys steal your shoes and your backpack with your journal in it, and there's a bunch of other teens that want you to become an assassin and join some super secret Professor X Asian X-Men school where you grow up to be an assassin. It's just a lot of fun, and I didn't know what to expect of this. I know Remender is drawing on some of his personal experiences growing up during that time period with the punk rock movement and punk rock movement in the 80s, so I guess it was kind of an underground punk scene, skateboard scene or something.
It was like SLC Punk with Matthew Lillard, where they're in Salt Lake City, and they're like the only punks in the town.
You lost me at Matthew Lillard.
You didn't see SLC Punk? That's a classic film.
Shut up.
Oh, God.
But I was
a poser.
You know what? Let me think here. I was 14 in 1987. I think that's why this book resonates with me, because I was the same age as the main character, and there was a crazy cadre of assassins that tried to get me to join their club.
In underground Detroit.
That was just a fight club, I think.
They called it South Detroit, though, which led to the Journey song. And it was
I was born and raised in South Detroit. There is no South Detroit, folks, just so you know. I don't know what Steve Perry was singing about in Journey. But back to Deadly Class. Great first issue. There's a lot of content here. I just can't wait for the next part. Wes Craig's art is great. And for me, great comics are equal parts, great writing, great story, great art. That's 3 parts, but it's primarily...
I think writing and story are the same thing.
No, story, I think story is a combination of writing and artwork.
Okay.
But
so it's
great storytelling, great writing, great artwork, and this book definitely has it. So Deadly Class, put it on your radar. Check it out at your local store if that's us. We have plenty of copies, and you'll see in the notes below you can actually buy it digitally if you're not in the area and you want to check it out. So I thoroughly loved it.
Next up, we have Badass number 1. It's called Badass. I don't know what more I can tell you.
It's because Kick-Ass was already taken.
Kick-Ass was taken. Yeah, this is sort of a just balls to the wall, sort of not necessarily a humor book, but definitely a more humorous side, kind of your action movie humor, where you've got people just flipping the bird and punching people and killing them. And if you like Deadpool or Army of Darkness or Kick-Ass, this is your home. This is where you belong. It follows a, let's say, hired gun who's, I don't even know.
It's Deadpool. This character is Deadpool. He's part of another group of mercenaries, assassins,
whatever they are, yeah.
And they're all crazy. Their leader is a talking green dragon.
Not Fing Fang Foom.
And then there's like a black cat analog that shows up at the end.
I thought she was more like Catwoman, but sure.
Either one. Well, and Black Cat is essentially Catwoman. So, yeah, I was surprised. I thought it was fun, funny. The artwork was solid. Didn't know what to expect. Wasn't familiar with either of the creators on this book. And with Dynamite, you never know what you're going to get. And more recently, you're getting good stuff more often than not.
The creators, in case you were wondering, were story by Eric Hanna and art by Bruno Bassotti. Still don't know who they are. But they did good work, so high five. Badass number 1.
It's a no-brainer for Deadpool fans, or as Josh said, Ashley Williams, Army of Darkness fans, because the dialogue that the lead character has is very Ash-esque.
Yes.
Okay, next up for me, another number 1, All New Invaders number 1, written by James Robinson of the Golden Age fame and Earth 2, and artwork by Steve Pugh. again, pleasant surprise this week. Really have not been a fan of Invaders comics over the years, but this one got me. The beginning focuses on Jim Hammond, the original Human Torch, and he's trying to rebuild his life as an auto mechanic in a small town somewhere, perhaps where Arnold Schwarzenegger is the sheriff. I'm watching The Last Stand at the same time as I'm reading. Well, not right now, but anyway. And Robinson really gets you to feel for Hammond, to feel how he feels when his town is suddenly invaded by a crazy Kree Amazon. All of the original Invaders are supposedly connected in this tapestry. We've got Namor the Submariner, Bucky Barnes, a.k.a. the Winter Soldier, Captain America, Steve Rogers, and Jim Hammond. I don't know where Toro is. Is he dead? Like, gone someplace?
I think he's dead. After Avengers Invaders and then that miniseries, I'm pretty sure he's not with us anymore.
But we've had several people, at least two, in the last 5 years come in asking for Invaders comics and wanting to know what's going on with the Invaders. And now's your chance, people. If you're a fan of the Invaders, and again, it's set in present day, but there are definitely ties to the past history of the team. So kind of curious to see where this goes, and I can't remember the last thing that Robinson did at Marvel. He may have never done anything in Marvel, I don't know, but he's got this, and he's got Fantastic Four on the horizon, too.
Good.
So pick it up. I loved it. Dug it.
Another new #1 this week. We've got George A. Romero's Empire of the Dead over at Marvel Comics. And I should, full disclosure, say I don't like zombie comics. Now, there are a few that I've enjoyed over the years, but on average, I'm going to pass on a zombie comic, even a zombie movie. But this one actually really sucked me in. It's written by Romero, actually written, not like he called them and said 4 things, and then they got Peter David to write it all out. This is actually Romero scripting. We've got art by Alex Maleev, which I think really fits the story, because Maleev does that kind of proto-realistic art, where it's like sort of through a weird lens that you see the world, which is exactly what you need for a zombie story. This is a quasi... I'm not even going to say that. I was going to say it's a quasi-sequel to Night of the Living Dead, but it's not. It's sort of... There's one character in here who tells flashback stories about the night the zombies came, and they could very easily be layered on top of the content from the Night of the Living Dead. She would be the sister of the brother and the sister that boarded themselves up in the house, and then ultimately the brother got killed. Barbie from the movie Night of the Living Dead. You guys saw that, right? That was a thing. Anyway, this is very cool. You've got sort of a post-spread of the disease version of the world. So you've got people in New York City kind of holed up, living... Essentially, they have the zombies contained outside of walls, and there are areas where people are still sort of functioning. But the story focuses on 2 people. One who's essentially is a zombie baiter. He gets zombies to get them to fight.
That sounds dirty.
You know, like bear baiting in the medieval times.
Okay, gotcha.
You guys, that was a thing, right? He gets zombies and gets them to fight in essentially the Colosseum from ancient Rome for the amusement of the rich folk, or whoever survives to be rich in the post-apocalypse. And he meets up with a scientist who believes that zombies are exhibiting signs that maybe they can be trained, maybe they can be tamed, and she is the sister of the characters from Night of the Living Dead. And it was really engaging. It was neat to see this kind of slightly different zombie world. The characters were cool, and I enjoyed it. So check out Empire of the Dead.
So really, Josh could have just stopped at George Romero's Empire of the Dead.
That was all I had to say.
Because those of you that are George Romero fans, zombie fans, you know that he's the godfather of the zombie movement. So who's this for? Obviously, fans of The Walking Dead, people that liked World War Z, any zombie. If you're a zombie fan, but again, the kicker here is that he's not a zombie fan, I'm not a zombie fan, and we both thought it was really good. So it's just, again, good story. Next up for me is Superior Spider-Man Team-Up #9. This is written by Kevin Shinnick with artwork by Marco Cicchetto, and that was the selling point for me, folks. I haven't read Superior Spider-Man Team-Up in a very long time, probably from the first issue. Well, we're only on issue 9, so it can't have been that long. But Marco Cicchetto is one of my favorite new artists when he did his run with Greg Rucka on Punisher, and then was part of that, what was the name of that disc? The disc that was hidden in the FF's logo. It was a multi-part storyline between Punisher and Spider-Man and Daredevil. And again, it was Rucka and someone else, maybe Christos Gage. I don't remember who co-wrote it. But anyway.
It was Wade, wasn't it? Because Wade was writing
Daredevil. Yeah, it was. It was Mark Waid and Greg Rucka writing a crossover between Punisher, Daredevil, and Spider-Man. And Marco Cicchetto did the artwork on that, too. And this guy is awesome, folks. I am stunned by the way that he draws these characters. It is incredible. So I picked it up for the artwork and stuck around for the story, and the story is very good. This actually takes place between issue number 26 and 27 of Superior Spider-Man, so it is smack dab in the middle of all the action that's going on over in Superior Spider-Man. So if you're reading Superior Spider-Man, I highly recommend you picking this up because I don't think you'll be disappointed. So we've got Otto Octavius, Superior Spider-Man, Frank Castle Punisher, and that guy, Matt Murdock, as Daredevil, and these guys are always fun when they hang out together. And the Goblin is involved, the Green Goblin. Whether this is Norman Osborn or somebody else, we still don't know. It's a multi-part story. This is part 1, and it's awesome.
Awesome. All right. The day is finally here. The trial of Jean Grey has begun. All new X-Men, number 22, point now. Classy, Marvel. Now. Some Shi'ar folk show up. They want Jean Grey. We don't know why. But classically, Shi'ar and Jean Grey ends badly for Jean Grey. And it's good. I don't know what I can tell you that you don't already know. Brian Michael Bendis is awesome at writing these characters. He's also writing the regular series for Guardians of the Galaxy, which is where it's going to cross into for the next issue. And that is all.
Trial of
Jean
Grey.
It's great. Why wouldn't you love it?
You need to know. We're telling you about it because you need to know.
Yes. Art by Eminem, colors by Graubacher or inks?
Wade von Graubacher.
Yes. But yes, inks by Wade von Graubacher. I'm pretty sure Captain America fought him.
Lettering by Baron von Strucker.
Yes.
From Age
Hansel
of Ultron.
and...
Finally, for me, is Origin 2, number 2. This is the sequel to Wolverine Origin, written by Paul Jenkins back in the late 20th century, early 2000s. I don't remember. But this time it's written by Kieran Gillen, who's continuing the tale of Wolverine after he escapes his life of privilege and goes to live in the Canadian wilderness with the animals. First issue, honestly, for me, fell flat. It was a lot of pictures, no words, which
some words.
Okay, very few words, and it really left me feeling like, man, I don't know what's going to happen with this, and whether this was the best idea that Marvel and Kieran Gillen have ever had. But the second issue has redeemed the book for me. So the main reason I wanted to bring it up is because if you were like me and you picked up the first issue and it kind of left you going, I think you should come back and check out issue number 2 because there's a lot more that happens in it, and we get to see Sabretooth. So this is, again, retconning the first appearance and interaction between Wolverine and Sabretooth, which prior to this had been Wolverine issue number 10, the series by Chris Claremont and John Buscema. Actually, I think it was Bill Sienkiewicz that did the artwork on issue number 10. So, as a Wolverine fan, I was glad to see some forward momentum and some possible redemption on that first issue. So, I'll stick with it, keep checking it out, but you should come back and check it out, too.
Next up, we have Hawkeye 16. But wait, Josh, I haven't read Hawkeye 15 yet. No, you haven't, because it's not out. But it will be soon, they promise. But in the meantime, we've got Hawkeye 16 on the stands. We've got the Lady Hawkeye, Kate, who's on the left coast, acting as a private investigator for reasons and junk. But the real heart of this story is Kate gets involved in a Hollywood kind of event, a Hollywood thing, with a character that may be fairly familiar to. It's sort of a Beach Boys analog of Brian Wilson, kind of crazy creator who's gone over the edge with drug use and whatnot and is trying to create this masterpiece for decades that he'll never complete. And it was just really, really good. Fraction has an amazing ability to write young girls, which is
we need young
kind of
girls.
unsettling, really. But he just hits the notes. You know, she reacts in a realistic way. The dialogue's amazing. And if you're any sort of a fan of the 60s and kind of that era of music and that era of culture, this is just an amazing story. By the end of it, I wanted to put it down and immediately go listen to Pet Sounds. And it's just, Hawkeye's great every month, and this one is extra great.
It is, even though we leapfrogged an issue and we went from 14 to 16. And it's a great standalone issue, too. I mean, you really don't need to have read any previous issues of Hawkeye. I mean, it might help to know a little bit who Kate Bishop is, but they explain a little bit of that in the intro. I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. It's my runner-up for Pick of the Week. Good stuff. All right, well, we're going to try and do some top 5 lists with every episode this year and have them somehow tangentially related to what we've talked about that week. So this week we decided to do the top 5 comic books or comic stories involving the Invaders. In celebration of All New Invaders #1.
Involving the characters from the Invaders.
The characters from the Invaders. So first off, we thought Marvels needs to be on that list. The introduction in Marvels, which is basically the birth of Jim Hammond, the Human Torch, is great. Drawn by Alex Ross, written by Kurt Busiek.
Kurt Busiek, yes.
Got it.
I zoned out and yeah.
And
Busiek.
if you are a comic fan and you haven't read Marvels, you are doing yourself a disservice. You need to check it out. Great stuff, still timely, still relevant, and the artwork is just phenomenal. The story's great.
And Marvel's is one of those great double whammies because if you've already read the origins and the history of Marvel Comics, the birth, the early 60s stuff, it's fun because of the way they change it. You see it from a human's point of view to see these godlike beings of power fighting in the sky. But if you've never read that stuff, it also gives you enough to get by on. You can read Marvels and enough about the original Human Torch and about the Submariner to pick up the later stuff without being confused. It's a wonderful tool and it's just an amazing book. It's a must-own.
With that time period, let's go with...
this is sort of a twofer. These are not maybe classic issues, but they're issues that are important because of what's in them. And that's Avengers 4 and Fantastic Four number 4. Fantastic Four number 4 is where the Submariner, Namor, Prince of Three-Quarters of the World, is found as a homeless person by Johnny... By Johnny Quick? No.
Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm, the Human
Stop
Torch.
cracking yourself up. Stay focused.
Sorry, homeless Namor is so great to me because he's so arrogant and now he's just like a crazy person living on the street with a beard. And the reason this issue is worth it for watching Johnny shave him with a flaming finger, which sounds a lot worse when I make this hand gesture. And the other kind of tie for this point is Avengers 4, where the Avengers fight Namor of the Invaders. But at the end, the chasing Namor through the Arctic wasteland and through the water and whatnot leads to stuff being broken and smashed. And one of the things that gets smashed loose and floats to the top is Steve Rogers, also of the Invaders. Invaders of the Invaders. And it's very cool. I mean, I've looking to get the right issue numbers for these. I kind of flipped through these early volumes. It's the Marvel Masterworks Avengers 1, Marvel Masterworks Fantastic Four. I kind of forgotten or maybe didn't even realize how many awesome stories are in these first arcs. Like, they knocked it out of the park from day one on these books. You've got Thing as Blackbeard and all kinds of awesome stuff, Giant Man and Ant-Man, and comics are great. So check out some of your early Silver Age. These are first Silver Age appearances of both Cap and Namor, the Submariner.
Cool. All right, Captain America, Winter Soldier. Obviously, we've got a big movie coming out in April called Captain America, the Winter Soldier. We've spoken about this numerous times. But Ed Brubaker and Steve Epting's run on Cap was fantastic, and the reintroduction of Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier was...
Spoiler alert.
You know this by now. You know.
We just said it like 5 minutes ago, so...
was I guess one of the high points, I would say one of the high points of comics in the 21st century so far. I mean, there were certain characters that all of us comic fans said you're never going to bring back. You're never going to bring back Uncle Ben. You're never going to bring back Gwen Stacy. You're never going to bring back Bucky Barnes. And Gwen has come back in various forms over the years, but Uncle Ben is still gone for now. And
Uncle Ben
the way that Ed Brubaker brought Bucky Barnes back was great. And that's, even if you were vehemently opposed to that, if you were a huge fan of Bucky Barnes, you had to at least acknowledge that it was a pretty darn good story. So if you haven't checked out Captain America Winter Soldier, you get Cap, you get Bucky, 2 members of the Invaders right there in Winter Soldier. I will go to... Actually, I may cover all of these because I don't know how familiar you are with these. But
we did mine up front.
All right, so in 1990, early-ish, 1990-something on the early side, John Byrne did a Namor series that he wrote and drew, and it was really different, and different in a good way, too. Namor basically decides that he's going to take on the people that are polluting the oceans by becoming an industrialist. So you get Namor in a suit and tie, he's in an office building, but then he still has crazy things to fight, like the Griffin, and Iron Fist shows up, and Super Skrull shows up, and, I mean, you know John Byrne, I mean, he can draw... He's born to draw the characters of the Marvel Universe. His legacy in Marvel land is immense. So to see him draw a lot of these characters, again, 10 to 15 years after he originally drew them, was really cool. But again, to see Namor in that light of day instead of his normal running around in his swim trunks,
Imperious Rex.
declaring war on everyone. This is a really different kind of take on that. So a lot of people haven't checked it out because it's kind of an older thing, and many of you might be watching this who were not alive at that time or reading comics at that time. So seek it out. They're available in trade paperback in some nice big volumes. John Byrne's Namor. Finally, sorry.
Avengers Invaders?
Oh, okay. Go Avengers Invaders.
We went back and forth on this, putting the list together.
Yeah, Avengers Invaders.
Okay. Avengers Invaders is, in a lot of ways, the only really, truly modern Invaders story. I mean, you've got the Roy Thomas stuff from decades ago. They've popped up now and again. They had the new Invaders in the early 90s, late 90s. I don't know. But Avengers Invaders was your A-list Marvel creator, Ed Brubaker. No. Who?
I don't know.
It was Brubaker.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure. It was awesome, though.
Ross did the covers.
Yeah.
He may have done some interior painting overs of someone else's stuff.
Yeah, not much.
I don't know. Is that line around here somewhere?
Yeah, it's Jim Kruger and Alex Ross.
Jim Kruger and Alex Ross. That's what I was going to say. Is the team behind Earth X, Earth whatever.
Jim Kruger, best known
Universe
as that guy
X.
who knows Alex Ross.
Yeah. They went to grade school together.
Yes.
Earth X, Universe X, whatever X, and now they got together on. But I'd still, Alex Ross didn't do the interiors. Alex, who did it? Come on. Doug Braithwaite, maybe?
That's not impossible.
Steve Sadowski?
Steve Sadowski?
Sadowski, that's the name.
Maybe. It's awesome.
It is. No, it's so good, and it's been a few years since we've had it in stock because it's an older book. But it brought the Invaders into the kind of the modern consciousness. It started the rebirth of the Human Torch in modern continuity for the third time, the fourth time. He keeps coming back and then dying. He never really made the permanent return the way Namor and Cap did. But it's a very cool time story where you've got a soldier from or from one of the platoons that Steve and Bucky worked with during the war, still being alive, and the cosmic cubes involved, and the modern new Avengers, the Luke Cage Avengers, get sent back to World War II, and they have to disguise who they are, and it's just a very cool, fun Avengers Invaders story. And it's to me the most iconic of the recent stuff, which is
Well, the nice thing about all of these is that they can be taken on their own.
Yeah.
A lot of comics today and comics since the birth of comics has been continuity, and all of these stories can be read independently of each other and can be enjoyed on their own. So you don't have to necessarily, if you want to find out what happens next, then you can continue reading books from that same time period. But I've talked too long. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But they're good. They're good collected editions. They're good things to pick up and put on your bookshelf because you can just pull it down, read it, and move on to something else. So that was our top 5 list, and that was, I think we'll call that the top 5 Invaders-related storylines. No, comics, graphic novels, and stuff.
and junk.
Yeah. That is it. We are out of here. We'll be back next week with more of the best comics of the week and another top 5 list. Thank you, as always, for watching. And if you'd like to purchase any of the comics that we've talked about, we'll include links in the show notes below, so you can do that in our digital store. Or if you're local, come on in. We'd love to see you at the shop. See you next time.